On today's episode of You Asked, trouble with Sonos, is 5000 nits bad for the eyes, how to help me help you, and the big one, is there such a thing as dumb TVs, and why or why not? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and this is You Asked, where I answer the questions that you asked in hopes of helping you and others who might have the same kind of questions. Before I get to the first question, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who gave us a like and maybe even shared the last You Asked episode. That was a huge help, so keep it going, and I'll keep it going with these videos. Thanks again. Okay, first question comes from @RagoHeads, or maybe it's RajoHeads, I don't know. Anyway, they said, unable to connect my single Era 300 to the ARC and sub. Do we need two Era 300s for these to connect? Well, based on your description of the situation, it sounds like you're trying to use just one Era 300 as a surround speaker in combination with the Sonos ARC and Sonos sub. To the best of my knowledge, there's no way to set up just one surround speaker in a Sonos system. The Sonos setup system wants to see two speakers, one for the left channel signal and one for the right channel signal. I don't believe the Sonos system has the ability to mix a stereo surround signal down to mono and route it out through one speaker. So yes, if you're wanting to set up a surround system with Era 300 speakers as the surrounds, you'll probably need two. Now, I haven't tried it, but I also don't think Sonos would allow you to mix two different Sonos speaker models. So you probably couldn't use, say, a Sonos Era 300 for the right surround speaker and a Sonos One for the left speaker. If someone has tried that and you were actually successful, let us know down in the comments. Anyway, what you can do is use the Era 300 on its own as a music speaker or TV speaker by assigning it to a different room, as if it were a multi-room setup. And then you could just position it behind you in the same room where your ARC and sub are, but it's not going to be surround sound, and you might create more problems than you solve, so I wouldn't really recommend that. Next up, @MarcosVictor4935, who has been subscribed for 7 years. Thank you very much. They said, imagine building a whole new studio and still not being able to wall mount the TVs for review. Well, seems like someone is coming in hot with a little snark. But I mean, if I were to imagine not being able to wall mount TVs for review, I wouldn't be too upset about it. I can count the number of times that wall mounting the TV would have been of some specific value on one hand. Take Samsung's The Frame TVs. Those would look pretty good mounted on the wall for a review. And the LG Gallery series, which is made for wall mounting, that would also look pretty good mounted. And I could show what that would look like rather than just rely on B-roll or images that TV manufacturers hand out. But frankly, I would never want to wall mount every TV I review. Doing that would add time and hassle and complication, but not a whole lot of value to the reviews that I'm doing. But here's the thing, I don't have to imagine all of that because I've still got places in this space to mount TVs. If I really need or want to wall mount, I can, and I will. In the meantime, I'll take the sonic and visual benefits of our acoustic slat wall because I dig it. And also, let me just add parenthetically that if I wanted to cut a hole in the acoustic slat wall and put a wall mount there, I absolutely could. It would be a pain, but I could do that. And you know what? It might look pretty great for one size of TV. What happens if I decide I want to step up from a 65 to a 75 or a 75 to 85? That hole would have to be recut, and then if I used a smaller TV, it wouldn't fit. You know what? Not a good idea. Slat wall stays the way it is, but if I do need to wall mount something, I've got space to do it. @ElMuse007, I might be taking some license with that. They said, how bad 5000 nits would be for the eyes? Well, it would depend on how much screen area was emitting 5000 nits. If just little slivers of the screen are putting out 5000 nits as highlights, then it might be pretty intense, but it's not going to cause problems or discomfort. But the more screen area is putting out 5000 nits of brightness, the more the cumulative effect of that brightness will mount up. Also, keep in mind that 5000 nits of bright white light is going to hit different than 5000 nits of red or green. @Jaime de Jesus 759 writes, hey Caleb, if I'm using an Nvidia Shield TV Pro, should I worry about the TCL QM8 upscaling? Well, admittedly, I'm not sure what you're asking here. I'm going to guess that what you mean is that you're concerned that TCL QM8 upscaling isn't going to be good enough for your needs, and you're wondering if you can set that concern aside because the Nvidia Shield does upscaling, and maybe it's good enough or even better than the QM8. So as usual, there isn't a simple answer to what could be a simple question. The first thing I need to say is that upscaling and video processing are not one and the same. Upscaling is part of image processing, but image processing involves more than just upscaling. But look, I don't take a huge issue with the TCL QM8's resolution upscaling. That's just taking low resolution content and upscaling it to the panel's native 4K resolution. It's definitely not as sharp as some other TVs, that's true, but it is not objectively or subjectively terrible. My main concern was with smoothing out color gradation on low bit depth content that you stream, which is not tied to upscaling necessarily. Frankly, I don't know what your needs are. I don't have enough information. What is the resolution of the content that you want upscaled? What size is the TV that you want to have? And are you really meaning resolution upscaling, or is it something else? I tend to think that the QM8 is probably going to do as well, if not better, than what the Nvidia Shield Pro can do. But you know what? I don't have an Nvidia Shield Pro. I know, shame on me. So I can't say that for sure, but I'm gonna fix that. I need to get one in and just have it on standby, especially with what I'm seeing happen with certain apps on certain TV brands right now. If you can get me more information, I might be able to get you a better answer. And that sentiment, with more information, I can provide a better answer. That very much applies to the next question and is exactly why I'm bringing up this question this week. This is another question from Jaime de Jesus 759, who is clearly really thinking about that TCL QM8. He writes again, "Hi Caleb, as of today, the LG C3 65-inch is at the same price as the TCL QM8 75-inch. Which one should I buy?" Well, first off, I just want to make clear, I'm not here to make fun of this question. I understand the kind of help that Jaime is asking for here. I'm using this question as an example to show why I can't give a really helpful answer unless I have more information. And, in fact, why it's hard for me to give individual buying advice in general. There's virtually no way for me to do the job of a good salesman via text or email without there being a series of exchanges wherein I ask multiple qualifying questions. A great sales associate will seek to understand what your needs and your goals are. And that is a dynamic, conversation-based process that's really hard to mimic via text-based communication. Like with Jaime here, I'm curious to know how much importance he places on the size and see how that contrasts with the importance he places on the quality of the image, and specifically what they feel like makes a quality image. What kind of content do they watch? What are the sources that they use for each type of their content? Where is the TV going? Do they watch during the day a lot? How much do they watch at night? What are their priorities? Like in person, probably going to spend 5 to 10 minutes doing that. Via email or DM or text, it could take multiple exchanges that could involve way more time than that. Time that I frankly can't afford to offer. Like, people get paid to be personal shoppers and consultants, and I understand why. It takes time and effort and skill to be good at that. I imagine y'all realize that too, which is why you try to make the question simple and straightforward in hopes that it won't take a ton of time and I'm more likely to answer. But guys, I don't want to give you half-assed help. So I hope you'll understand that I'm not going to be able to help many of you individually to make a purchase decision. I have to do that at the macro level. But if you are going to ask, be as detailed as you can. You got to help me help you. Help me help you. Okay, we've landed on our big one for today's episode. Kiewit writes, is there such a thing as a dumb TV? Wouldn't it be better to bundle a media box like Nvidia Shield versus developing an upkeep of one for every TV? I know my LG TV apps are out of date. My friend's Philips TV stopped getting updates like 4 years ago. And then another along the same lines came from Alex Del Castillo. Why are there no modern dumb TVs? My dream TV would be one that has 5 or 6 HDMI inputs and a tuner, only because it has to, with an interface to change the input and settings, which would include unused inputs. This way I can connect only the devices I want. Guys, preach on. You will find no greater ally than I in the advocacy of a dumbass TV. Sorry to be crass, but I get charged up about this. I personally would prefer to be able to have a completely dumb TV where I can get access to TV settings and inputs and prompt it for firmware updates if needed, and that's it. No apps, no ads, just a TV ready to display what I tell it to. But I'm afraid that ship has sailed. There are some practical reasons that TV makers can't turn back to dumb TVs or make special editions of TVs without smart TV software loaded onto them. Some of them are the same reasons that we won't see TVs without speakers, which we covered in the last episode. It's not feasible to make separate SKUs, at least not at scale, without any guarantee that they're going to be popular enough to sell and cover the cost of doing that. Also, as I've said here before, not doing something, in this case, not putting a smart TV platform in a TV, isn't necessarily as easy as it sounds. You'd think that just not doing it would be easier than doing it, but the basic TV functionality, menus, settings, picture quality adjustments, this stuff has now been baked into Smart TV OS. Breaking it back out requires that a different software run on the TV. So you're not just not doing something, you're forcing yourself to make something different, and that costs money. Speaking of money, and yeah, I'm afraid money is often at the heart of these things, the profit to be made on TVs right now is so low, in fact, some of them are probably sold at a small loss, that other ways of making revenue have been created to make sure that making TVs remains profitable. Those buttons on remotes that take you straight to a streaming app, those are bought and paid for by the streaming services. Netflix pays to be there, Disney Plus pays to be there, Crackle pays to be there. Guys, that's revenue. Also, driving viewers to certain pieces of content on certain streaming services, that's worth money. Advertising products through the TV, that's worth money. And aggregate viewer data, that's worth money too. So yeah, you can buy a decent 55-inch 4K TV for $300 now, but there's a cost that comes with that. Now, to its credit, Google TV at least has a dumb TV option that it presents you with at setup. That doesn't exactly make it a fully dumb TV, but it does scale back how invasive the smart TV platform feels for everyday use. But it's not really a return to dumb TV. It's frustrating. I get it, personally speaking, because I feel the same way. But frankly, this might be hard to hear. Those of us who want dumb TVs are very much in the minority. Most folks are not just fine with it, they actually want it. Folks, thanks as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, maybe even learned a little something. As always, send your questions to youasked@digitaltrends.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, here's 2 other videos I think you might like.